This is a good question here. Prince and the Revolution. Which did I prefer, Raspberry Beret or Pop Life? Wow, what a time. So I remember getting the Around the World in the Day album 40 years ago, Taking You Back, the clear see through tape. And I don't know if I ever talked about it or not. The album cover was like a replica, but it was in a psychedelic way. And it was the artifact of him, of the whole group, of the band. As a matter of fact, Jill Jones was doing the violin. That was her. The interesting part of Prince in the blue and white outfit, which he wore for the Raspberry Beret video, his hair was going to be dyed blonde. Ironically, August Darnell, aka Kid Creole, did the same thing if you watch the Indie Cut video. There were very a lot of similarities. That's a whole nother video, another discussion. Prince got a lot off of August Darnell. That's another time about Kid Creole and the Coconuts, because they were the international version of what Prince was trying to do with the revolution. And Wendy and Lisa and Eric Lee said as such, but that's another time, another video. But let me get to these songs and what I thought. Nothing has changed in the time period. When I got Around the World in the Day back then, I thought it was an average album, and I still do. But the difference is before his rockets fell off, he did rebound with the Sign of Times album for me. But when he had a hit, he had a hit. And that's one thing about Prince. I might not necessarily always dug most of his albums all the way through. And there's always going to be that big divide after the Purple Rain era because he had a distinctive way. Wasn't really, obviously, I'm one of the people that I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I didn't really care for any of his albums all the way through after 87. This was kind of like the bump in the road in the middle, which just goes to show you that the 80s wasn't all without him. He wasn't Mr. It wasn't everything. He did give you hits and he gave you moments, but he had some stuff that was kind of like. And Raspberry Beret, I liked the string arrangement. It had that whimsical. It was one of those kind of songs you kind of got into. I like the digs in it. It definitely had a country pick and vibe about it. I like how he digged in it. He took a shot at Rick James, Old Man Johnson's farmer. Was it about Jesse Johnson and Part Time Mr. McGee's? He had a humor. It was kind of like if he had done Hee Haw, which he ended up doing a decade later, it would have been funny. Because Raspberry Beret was the Chambers brother. I think he the harmonica part in there. It was pretty comical, funny, but it was catchy though. It was the way he sung it. It was like, okay, you could definitely get into that. That was catchy. I didn't really care for the long version, but the basic track was cool and it was cold and it was very addictive. I like the vibe of it. I like the vibe of it. And you could definitely find yourself singing it, with the harp and everything. It was cool. Now, Pop Life was autobiographical because of the boxing, like the whole thing when the fans booed him at the Rolling Stones thing and what you put in your nose. It was very Sly and the Family Stone, tongue in cheek. Was it a boy when you were wanted a girl, your hair don't curl, for your publisher's clearinghouse check in the mail? He had a very in your face, and I want to say that was like probably the last of that edge. He had a certain edge to him, and that song definitely had an edge. That bass, that walking bass, and the drums was definitely tight. Uh, Probably the only two songs on the album that I could really tolerate all the way through. I like parts of America, but it's because it reminded me of Baby. I'm gonna start with the groove. But he had a very pent up angst going on. He was very, like the groove of Tambourine, but it wasn't much. So it didn't really do nothing for me as a song. But it was kind of like a precursor to what Timberland did, if you think about it, the way the groove and the vibe goes. Um, but Raspberry Beret was cool on metaphor. You know what Prince's metaphors were like back then, you know. And he had a way of doing it, which wasn't. He had a way of masking it really well. That was clever on his part. But Pop Life was pretty straightforward and direct, and I liked the way it grew. I had a cassette back in the day, so what I would usually end up doing, I'd flip and rotate these songs back and forth. I'd finish one song, turn the other side over, and go back and forth. I wore my Duracell batteries or those cat batteries out, because those was probably my two favorite songs on the record. I wasn't really feeling the album that much. And like I said, America was a decent track, but a lot of time on the record, I thought he sounded kind of high and and it seemed like he was out of sorts. Because Pop Life, if you listen to it, the way the strings and everything hits, it's like it's disjointed. It's almost like he's out of socket. Actually, if you use that out of focus imagery that he used for the Sign of Times album, Pop Life would have fit really good on there, especially with the references and when you think about Dream Factory and everything. You can almost tell he was sending a message about what he was thinking about the landscape and how fake it was and what he was getting on about. So, but anyway, two clever songs. Wendy and Lisa were definitely, you could tell he was going through that style and that cold synth. groove. Um, interesting, interesting, very interesting track. Raspberry Beret definitely aged well as one of his nostalgia tracks. Pop Life, I love the groove of it, but it's one of those songs that unless you really into them, you still keep on remembering. But Raspberry Beret became like a pop culture classic. So anyway, but again, I was just okay with the album. I didn't like the Flower Power era of Prince at all. And that did happen in the 80s, but those two tracks definitely saved the record as far as I'm concerned. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. Share it if you like, and hit that membership because when you do, requests like this come true. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free, stay true. I'm out one time, peace.